Welcome back to coverage of the new Capenna Championship. I'm Ailey Lowry alongside Corey Baumeister, and I hope you've checked your weather forecast because there's a Jeskai storm a-coming, Corey.
Yeah, this is going to be a wild mirror match. Not exactly what they were planning on playing all day. You know, I'm sure there's some other matches that they really geared their deck towards, but you know what? Sometimes you got to play some mirror matches.
Indeed, Thoralf Severin versus Tristan Wylde-Larue, both on Jeskai Storm. Now, this is a spicy deck indeed, another one that we are going to see Goldspan Dragon absolutely shining alongside Lear, Disciple of the Drowned. So talk us through this deck quickly as these players get settled in, and we take a look at the opening hands here, Corey.
Yeah, we've seen Goldspan Dragon do a lot of work, you know, since its time in Standard, but I've never seen a more confident Goldspan Dragon than in this deck. You're going to see show confidence on Goldspan Dragon after casting a couple of spells, and each spell not only gives it a +1/+1 counter, but that also gives you an additional treasure. So it's just adding a ton of mana, and you can win the game all in one turn and all as soon as turn 5 for either of these players.
It's quite disgusting, I will say. I've seen this deck in action, and it is absolutely nutty what this deck can get up to. So it's going to be interesting to see how these players go up against each other here, how they approach this mirror matches. We'll see Expressive Iteration first here from Tristan, and he'll go digging for some cards and see if he can find anything useful for his following turns.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Tristan that is in second place in this Challenger leaderboard here to make it to the World Championship. So a great year so far, and looking to have one good last finish to solidify a spot at the World Championship.
Yeah, man, that's going to be such a big thing on each player's mind this weekend. I mean, how do you not think about the World Championship as you're playing in these matchups?
I know, it's so hard to distance yourself from the stakes that are at hand. You know, I mean, that really is what separates a really good player from a great player that kind of doesn't get, you know, taken over by such a big moment. Something I still got to work on. Every time I'm playing a match that matters for something, I'm like, oh my God, I can't screw up now. There's so much on the line, you know?
Yeah. So plenty to play for here as we see both players kind of just feeling each other out here. 2 unexpected windfalls in hand for Tristan, so things looking quite good indeed in terms of setting up for those big, crazy turns that we expect to see from a deck of this caliber, as we're going to see unexpected windfall, chucking that Sajiri Shelter. Now let's go digging and try and find the big old dragon.
Yep, and the main reason why we see that done at upkeep is if you unexpected windfall and get it Jwari Disruption, that's already bad. But if you wait till Thoralf plays land number 4, then Thoralf can go unexpected windfall of his own and then find a Jwari Disruption, and that's just a nightmare scenario. So doing it at upkeep there is a very heads-up play.
Smart stuff indeed, as Stormcarved Coast is found there as land number 4. Off of the Expressive Iteration. And we see the other iteration in hand of Galvanic Iteration. So, yeah, things could get a little crazy very quickly here. So far, no fireworks, but just you wait, everybody. Just you wait.
Yeah, and now we're going to see a line that we saw a lot from Izzet decks in the past, being able to go Galvanic Iteration into Unexpected Windfall, which will gain you 4 cards. It'll gain you 4 treasures just for, you know, the cost of 6 mana. Then you pair it with Goldspan Dragon. All of a sudden, you know, you have a lot of mana. I'll say it. I'll say that.
What dragon doesn't like treasure? Come on.
Exactly. And Thoralf Severin, no stranger to big mana either, ended up taking down a Mythic Championship with Tron, for any Tron lovers in the chat.
I just know Tron is that movie with the trippy lights, so. Ooh, unexpected windfall, Galvanic Iteration, so double the advantage, but only having to chuck 1 card. That is gross. There's a Goldspan. Tristan is going to go absolutely freaking ham this turn.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Tristan just was looking at, like, they're both resolve, and Thoralf's just shaking his head like, yeah, unfortunately, they do. So now we're going to see those treasures go get a little upgrade. Instead of adding 1 mana, they are adding 2. And now we're going to see Lear come into play. And what Lear does with Goldspan Dragon in this deck is Unexpected Windfall is now free. So every Unexpected Windfall you have in your graveyard just gets to cycle through your deck, and you get to continue to cast these cards over and over and over. And with 6 mana available, you can actually cast Galvanic Iteration from the graveyard for 2 instead of 3, since Lear kind of gives you that option to play it on its front half instead of its flashback side. And just make 4 more treasures, see what you find with 4 more cards, and it's gonna be Tristan's games to lose here.
Gosh, and with that resolving too, it lets that Sajiri Shelter be an option again, so that March of Swirling Mist or the Fading Hope that Thoralf Severin could possibly use to stop the shenanigans about to ensue. Yeah, that's not going to happen, but you're just going to have to take a ton of damage here.
And here we're going to see the kind of cool double-sidedness of Spikefield Hazard in this deck. For 1 mana, it adds a mana when you have Goldspan Dragon by targeting it. So 1 mana, get 2 mana. And then it's also just a very good removal spell at killing Luminarch Aspirants, at killing Kaido Shizuki after it's ticked down to make a ninja. It's got a lot of applications outside of helping with the combo piece from this Jeskai Dragon deck.
Man, and this, I've just noticed that we have a Fading Hope here for Thoralf Severin, but there is also an Otawara Soaring City as a second way to deal with this dragon, but unfortunately doesn't have a legend out at the moment to make it cheaper and send it back to hand. So, yeah, I think Tristan's not too fussed about this. He's just like, cool, I'll have some extra treasures, thanks.
And you see a Guard Approach is another card that protects. You have Sajiri Step from the yard that then is just free to play. You know, this is an Izzet deck. When they have that, that's about it. Yeah, they both know this deck upside down, left and right, and know that, yeah, I'm not winning from this situation.
All right, so knowing exactly what you're playing against is what you're playing. What the heck did these players do in sideboard? All the counterspells?
Yeah, it's really tough. The one card that is probably the best card against these dragon decks is Disdainful Stroke, so I think that's going to be an auto-include here. This is, you know, one of the main reasons why these mid-range decks that also play blue, you know, the Grixis decks, the Esper mid-ranges, why they probably think they have a decent matchup against this deck, because they get to bring in a card like Disdainful Stroke that not only deals with all of your threats, Goldspan Dragon and Lear, but also is just a clean 2-for-1 up against Unexpected Windfall and Big Score, considering they have to discard a card to play it. So it ends up being an extremely strong card. You're also going to see a Test of Talents, Negates, Spell Pierce, anything that interacts with Unexpected Windfall and Big Score is going to come in immediately, because that is really the card that, you know, turns a normal fair game into something really crazy when paired with Goldspan Dragon.
I want to ask you, Corey, you're talking about all these counter spells and whatnot, but there's a good old Nombo in this deck, isn't it? With Lear, Disciple of Drowned. So I see Thoralf is taking all but 1 out so far. But on the other side of things, Tristan is still happy with 3 in there. Tell me about that.
Exactly. While it is kind of a Nombo, this isn't your traditional Lear deck where you just see, you know, I'm going to win the game with the value that Lear gives. Lear is actually a combo piece, you know, so you want to protect Lear with counter spells until Lear hits the stack. And then it doesn't really matter as much, because from there, you should theoretically win the game. So these counter spells are just to stop the nonsense of Big Score, Unexpected Windfall, and to force through your own Big Scores and Unexpected Windfalls. You're going to hear me saying those cards a lot, because that's really what this deck is centered around, just because of how well it synergizes with the rest of the deck.
For sure. So both players ready to rock and roll. Let's jump into game number 2 here. Tristan Wylde-Larue versus Thoralf Severin. Take a look here at the opening hands and see if Thoralf can get something going here a little quicker. Is happy with this. He's a Voltage Surge, 2 Spikefield Hazards, the Shelter, which is likely just going to be land number 3 at this point, and a Thirst for Knowledge.
Yeah, Thirst for Knowledge, a flashback of a card that we definitely saw in Magic's history quite a while ago that has made its way back to Standard. Got a soft spot in my heart for sure. I loved playing with some Thirst for Knowledge.
Oh, the big lobster's in Hellbreaker Horror. Gonna be hanging out here with Thoralf. Be a while till we get that down, unless we see a couple of Unexpected Windfalls and Big Scores, as we're gonna Thirst for Knowledge in response to this Expressive Iteration, just so that there's no counter spell shenanigans, as we see that Spell Pierce hanging out there for Tristan.
Yeah, really heads up play from Thoralf because, well, the Spell Pierce was there, and you know Expressive Iteration is either going to find a land or Tristan's going to just play a land from hand, and then that play wouldn't have been, you know, a successful play. I'm sure it would have ate up a Spell Pierce for sure. So a really heads up play from Thoralf.
So this matchup has kind of shifted into more of a control matchup, right? So we'd expect to see both players just waiting for the other one to budge and then take their opportunity to strike.
Yeah, games will really slow down here. And honestly, with this Dragon deck, that's kind of how it approaches a lot of the matchups. It's either slowing down to be a little bit more controlling, or it's slowing down to a little bit more controlling as in counter spells, or it slows down to be a lot more removal focused against decks like Runes or let's say White Weenie, any of those kind of really aggressive decks. And the only matchup I would say that it really stays as fast as possible is when it's on the play against Runes, because that is kind of the reason to play this Jeskai deck, is to just go way over the top of it.
There's an accident in slow motion about to occur here as Big Score on the stack discards a card and gets Spell Pierced.
Yes.
Punished. Oh, that feels bad.
It feels really bad, and I'm looking at Tristan's list right now, and there is only one card in the 75 that could have countered that spell right there. So Thoralf, you know, made a decision like you can't have the one of, right?
Yeah, surely you don't. Oh, he sure did.
Yep,
so one card down, actually 2 cards down now, and nothing to show for it. No treasures, no fun stuff, no dragon, no nothing. And Tristan, he's gonna be quite happy with that as Expressive Iteration on the stack once more, digs 3 cards deeper, finds land number 5, hopefully for his sake, but yeah, things are looking pretty good there for the American.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's definitely the area you want to be in this style of game, is something where you can say go and have some card advantage and ideally have a little disruption as well. You know, if Tristan had Disdainful Stroke and Behold, you know, that's something you are really looking for, to have that versatility to counter something, or if they don't go for something big, be able to draw some cards. But just having Behold and Unexpected Windfall here is plenty fine.
Oh man, Jawari Disruption into a Big Score or Behold the Multiverse. Wow. That's pretty gross, but also playing around the Jawari Disruption that he potentially thinks could be at hand here for Thoralf. So not getting super greedy, not going for that Big Score or the Windfall just yet. Is happy to just scry 2 and draw 2 cards. Sure, let's do it twice. Why not?
Yeah, Tristan has played these last few turns pretty conservatively. There was a turn where Tristan could have just, you know, at end step tapped out to Behold, but that would have ran right into a Jawari Disruption. And, you know, I think at the time Thoralf didn't actually have it, but it is still playing around those cards to make sure you get full value on your cards. Now, this Hullbreaker Horror might kind of throw a wrench into this plan for Tristan.
For sure. A couple good draws there, Test of Talents being one of them, but Goldspan Dragon is being called upon right now to start doing some dumb stuff.
Here we go.
Let's see what you have in store for us, Mr. Goldie. 4 points of damage, first and foremost, and a treasure that taps for 2. And if there is any interaction from Thoralf's side of things, like a Voltage Surge, once there's a artifact to sack and do the 4 damage to, well, yeah, he's just going to make some more treasures there.
And this is a scenario where if Tristan for sure knew that there was no disruption in Thoralf's hand, this is game. There is enough in Tristan's hand right now to win. Remember, all these Unexpected Windfalls and these big scores are free, you know, where you just get to cast them. And this is the point where you probably can discard Test of Talents, you know, or maybe just discard Expressive Iteration, because you're going to get that card from your graveyard with Lear.
Yeah.
And this is one of those turns where you can generate enough mana that you can win unless the right type of disruption is on Thoralf's hand.
Here we're going to see the Unexpected Windfall, still keeping up that 1 mana to pay for Jawari Disruption, so very heads up by Tristan Wylde-Larue as he keeps digging further and further down here into his library to find all of the key pieces he needs. There goes a second copy of the dragon. Don't need that. The Goldspan on the board is protected right now, so there's nothing Thoralf can do but watch.
Exactly. Yep, it's protected so that you see a guard approach, not only protect Goldspan Dragon, but it netted 1 mana for Tristan, which then allowed him to play around Jwari Disruption. Each of these spells that's being cast, so really heads up play there from Tristan.
Yeah, and he's just gonna keep going. I mean, he's just having the best time of his life right now. He's like, yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Ooh, some thirst for discovery. That seems good. I mean, sure, why not? Go for it. Just play all the cards, do all the things.
Wow, this is some impressive work. I'm not gonna lie, this is the deck I think I probably played the most leading up to it. I just really like this style of Magic, and I'm learning just now that you can play Show of Confidence and keep that trigger on the stack, and then play spells, and then you still get the storm count for that. So, wow, impressive stuff.
Oh my goodness. I mean, only now has there been an opportunity to draw a disruption, but at this point, Thoralf was just like, yeah, okay, do your thing. I'm going to attempt to cast a Hullbreaker Horror in the end step, but, you know, you may have something for that by the time you're done doing whatever the heck it is you're doing.
Oh, I don't think there'll be an end step, to be honest. I think this game is going to end right here. Right now we have all this mana. This Goldspan Dragon is going to be gigantic, and now really all we have to find is a way to win the game on the spot here. And as I'm looking at the list...
I don't know if he plays Kezel's Fury, honestly.
Yeah, Fury is what I usually see, or Smoldering Egg usually gets it done as well. Maybe just saying if I gain enough of an advantage, that's going to be good enough? Huh.
Well, I mean, with 13 treasures, just a casual 26 mana hanging out, the world is his oyster. He just mustn't, you know, deck himself accidentally.
Yeah, exactly.
So here comes Lear, Disciple of Drowned. This is going to switch off every single counter spell. So the world is Tristan Wylde-Larue's oyster. So we're going to take a look at the graveyard here and see what other shenanigans we can get up to.
We're going to see plenty of cards available. You know, you can essentially make, you know, hundreds of mana here with Show Confidences in the yard. And just really end the turn with, you know, probably close to around 100 mana. And... Ooh, plays Unexpected Windfall here, which actually gives Tristan the opportunity to counter before Lear comes onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
Instead, if you wait for Lear, you know, that's going to be it.
That's all she wrote for that one. Tristan Wylde-Larue just not giving Thoralf Severin any leeway there. He's like, you're going to watch me play Magic. I hope you're cool with that, Thoralf.